Hello, and welcome to another live reading session with me. Today, I will be reading from Chapter 2 of Jordan's World. Here we go. Riding Dragons. Jordan startled awake, panicked. Gemta? Come on, breathe! Cold sweat covered her skin, and her heart raced. She looked for her Gemta in the darkness. Jordan? Gemta said, still half asleep. What is it? Jordan sighed in relief to hear her Gemta's voice. They were inside their hut in the Makta village, sleeping in their kelkanos, hammock-like beds made from the velvety underside of the Zala beast hide and tied with the flexible bark of the hizit tree. Never mind, it was a dream, Jordan said, embarrassed. You still dream about that time? Gemta replied. Still unnerved by her nightmare, Jordan put her feet on the floor and rubbed her eyes before standing up. Then she leaned against the nearest wall. The traumas of that first Algorand winter still had a strong and cruel grip on some part of her mind and soul. Despite how much time had passed, the burden of her fears and guilt rested on Jordan as if it had been yesterday. Yes, it scared me more than anything, even the abductors. I understand. I am reminded of it every time I wake. Jordan was always saddened to be reminded of her Gemta's blindness, but was soothed by the fact that she was still alive. I really could not rest or sleep much during those months, Jordan said. The Shilvaba kept you in such danger. The nights were the worst, when the fevers spiked so suddenly and often. If I did not apply the healer's salve quickly enough, you would go into convulsions. You must have been a bundle of nerves. Jordan sighed. I was always afraid I would sleep through one of your fevers, that I would wake up and I would be dead? Jordan hesitated before responding. Yes. Her Gemta carefully exited her kelkano. She unfastened it from the floor and let it pull back to its resting position against the wall. She grabbed her walking stick from along the wall and listened for Jordan's movement. Once she located her, she walked over and gave Jordan a much-needed hug. I owe you my life many times over, Gemta shared. You're my Gemta. I would do anything for you. I am just glad you survived. They sat down on the floor for a few minutes in silence. You do not have to be so protective of me anymore, Jordan. I am stronger now. I am fine, Gemta said. Yes, but you are also blind, Jordan said. You know I have learned to see with my other senses. I walk this village every day, and I feel sorry for any enemy who dares to attack me. To emphasize her point, her Gemta picked up her walking stick and stabbed at the air as if holding a saber. Oh, do I hear fierceness in my Gemta's voice? Jordan teased. While you were on your last hunt, Chieftess asked her daughter, Mitas, to train me in defense and how to fight. I am impressed. Mitas has taught many the ways of combat. Zaska may have taught me, but Mitas supervised the training. Gemta laid her walking stick back down beside her. So, you do not need to worry about me so much. I will always worry about you, Gemta. That is sweet, but you will not always be living with me. Someday, you will choose a mate and be with him. Your focus will not be on me. It will be on your new family. Jordan sighed again. That seems a long way off. You are 21. Others have been mated a cycle or two. They have children already. Jordan softly patted her Gemta's leg. You hang around Chieftess too much, Gemta, she complained. You are starting to talk like her. And you are forgetting how different the culture is here. On Earth, our people could wait until their 30s or 40s to marry and have children. They could also decide not to marry at all or have any children. There were so many people and so many options. Here, life is not so plentiful, and there are more dangers. Jordan pondered her Gemta's words in silence for a few moments. All of what you said is true, Jordan replied, her grin evident in her voice. But I think you just want to marry me off so you can have grandchildren. I will not deny that I have had those thoughts, Gemta said with a hint of a smile. You are all I have, and I would like to see our family continue, even if it is here. And I know your children would be beautiful, even if I cannot see them. Jordan shifted restlessly in place. Gemta, you still have Mark, even if he is on Earth. I have no doubt that someday he will get married and have kids. Perhaps, but I will have no way to know that. I do not like uncertainties. I understand, Jordan said, somewhat dejected. I am sorry. I just wanted to give you some perspective. You do not have as much time to decide as you may think. Jordan rested her hand on her Gemta's leg, but there was no excitement or amusement this time. I will give it more thought, but this is my decision, Gemta. Jordan, I trust you, Gemta said with a nod. Jordan valued her mother's trust, perhaps more than anything. Thanks, Gemta. Gemta prepared some hot tea for the two of them, and they spent the next hour telling each other stories until they were tired enough to sleep again. Jordan rose early, out of habit. On Earth, she had never been a morning person, but during that fateful winter, between watching over her Gemta and her training to become a huntress, Jordan was always up and moving by first light. She staggered out of the hut and walked to a nearby mountain stream without putting on her furs or boots, hoping the cold winds in her face and the wet snow between her toes would further stimulate her senses and trigger her adrenaline. She took a few handfuls to drink and then washed her face with the brook's icy waters. After a few stretches, she returned to the village and put on her furs and boots. She walked over to help with the morning meal for the village, which mainly consisted of mista birds, Algorand's version of a chicken, eggs, cooked shta meat, and baked bread. Jordan enjoyed assisting with the cooking, talking with those who were preparing the food along with her, and the gratitude she received from her fellow villagers as she served them their meals. Once most of the breakfasts had been served, Jordan sat down and enjoyed her own meal. She had sampled a few items while making the food, but not enough to fill her belly. She was joined by Zaska, Raybon, and Bhopal, the other members of her hunting pack. Bhopal was a stern and rugged young man. His facial features, broad like his massive chest and powerful legs, contrasted with his mannerisms, which she considered somewhat gentle. Are you well, Jordan? Zaska pointed to Jordan's eyes. Jordan could imagine the dark circles and paleness of her face. I did not sleep well. You had one of those nightmares again, did you not? Zaska asked. Jordan nodded. It was vivid. Gemta had the illness, and I was waking to help her, but somehow in the dream I knew it was too late. I woke for real, and Gemta was fine, of course, but it took a while to go back to sleep. Raybon stood by. Jordan thought he was clearly uncomfortable with memories from that time as he looked away or down. Once she saw him try to smile, but it was forced and awkward. In contrast, if Bhopal found the conversation grieving, she noted that his flat expressions gave away nothing, and he wisely stayed silent. Perhaps you should try to get some more rest, Zaska offered, reaching over to put her hand on top of Jordan's. I could not get more rest even if I wanted to. I need something else to focus on, Jordan replied. Dreams like that only remind me how I almost lost my Gemta. Jordan was surprised when Raybon's eyes suddenly showed enthusiasm, and he finally spoke up. I have an idea, Raybon exclaimed. After morning meal, we will go to the lake to fish and tell tales. Tall tales, if it is you, Zaska said, laughing and gently ribbing him. I have many stories to tell which are completely true, Raybon added. Zaska's laughter was infectious. They soon began their trip to a generous lake near the base of the mountain. It took an hour to walk the distance. Raybon had been weaving his tale for some time, eliciting curiosity and amusement. The group sat in a circle on the lush grass within sight of the lake. "And could I help it if the chief of that village offered his daughter to me?" Raybon asked. "Well, since you obviously did not end up with her, what happened?" Zaska said, fidgeting with a stone. Then she turned to look at him, half irritated and half curious to hear his answer. "As it happens, it was not a real village, and he was not really a chief," Raybon said. "And it was not his daughter either?" Bhopal asked. Raybon froze for a moment and then looked in Bhopal's direction, smiling but obviously confused. "Have I told this story before?" Zaska grabbed him by the shoulders and pulled him into a kiss. "No, my mate," she said, "and it is a good thing, too. Please do not tell this story again." "You do not like it?" Raybon said, surprised. Jordan began clapping in delight. "I liked it," Jordan interjected, as much to mess with Zaska as to lift Raybon's drooping spirits. "You have no taste for storytelling, dark hair," Zaska said. "I've been known to weave a tale or two," Jordan said with a raised eyebrow and a smile. "Is that so? You have been quiet for 4 cycles, but now you have a story for us?" Raybon said. "This I must hear." Jordan looked at her friends and smiled. She turned away to collect her thoughts, then swirled around to face them again. "Once, there was a young girl who adored her Torcom," Jordan began. "He was often busy, but he loved her very much. One day, he told her, 'I am going to take you to a magic place, and wonderful things are going to happen.' The girl was excited and went with her Torcom to this place. When they arrived, she was amazed. There were so many incredible things to do and see, but her Torcom told her he was taking her somewhere very special. They were going to ride a dragon." "What?" Zaska exclaimed. "No one can ride a dragon." Jordan held up her finger to silence them. Then she spread both arms at her side as she continued. "I told you, it was an enchanted place, and the girl's Torcom had a special magic." "He was a sorcerer?" Raybon asked. "Shh! Let her tell the story," Bhopal insisted. Jordan smiled in amusement, making eye contact with Bhopal. "The girl's Torcom used his power to tame the dragon. It humbled itself and let them climb aboard," Jordan said. "Her Torcom crafted a special harness and saddle to allow them to safely sit on and control the beast. When they were secured and ready, her Torcom snapped the reins and commanded the dragon to fly. And it did. They flew high and dipped low, took marvelous turns, all going quite fast. And all the while the girl was both terrified and happy. Thrilled, really." "What happened next?" Bhopal asked, captivated by her story. His eyes expressed a childlike fascination. "Well, the Torcom could only use his magic for so long," Jordan replied. "After several minutes he had to land the dragon or risk it getting out of control. But the young girl would always remember and treasure that experience for the rest of her days." Now Zaska began to clap, smiling at Jordan. Raybon and Bhopal joined Zaska, causing Jordan to blush. "Who knew that Jordan was such a good storyteller?" Zaska said, "or that she actually rode a dragon as a child?" "That is one of about 2 stories I know," Jordan said. "And it was not actually a dragon, but I did enjoy myself and that time with my Torcom." Jordan felt Zaska put a hand on her shoulder and rested there. "This is the first time I've heard you mention him without sadness," Zaska said. "Yeah, maybe I am getting better," Jordan said, still smiling. And that is the end of Chapter 2.